Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Packed show today. Looking at everything we've got to talk about. We've got playoff basketball to talk about. The Nuggets on the brink. Who would have thought that? We've got the Knicks and the Pacers controversy marring that game. We've got Amazon picking up specific NBA games during the season for next year. May have to go to a streaming platform to find NBA games. We've got Clippers extension offers for Paul George. We've got a Lakers move. We've got all kinds of stuff to get into on today's show. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, we've got so much. This is great for a early May show. We are packed to the gills here, and I guess you know what? I have had the song. I have no idea why. I'm sure this has nothing to do with what happened in the NBA last night. I have had the Duran Duran song "Hungry Like the Wolf" stuck in my head all day, and it's glorious.
Nice. Yeah, mine is No Flex Zone from
Wingstop. Why would you do that to me?
Yeah, sorry. Well, now you get that stuck in your head. It's like that's like constantly just in my head all the time. Yeah, I literally find myself like I have a real problem with just silence. So I tend to like if it's quiet for too long, like I'll just yell out random stuff. Just I don't know why, because I'm an idiot. And like I was sitting driving in the car the other day, and it was like a moment. I think it was like moving from one podcast to the next, and I just out of nowhere yelled out, "No Flex Zone," just because.
Was anyone with you?
No, it was just me in the
Were your windows rolled down?
No, they were up. Too hot here to have the windows down now. You gotta roll around in the AC. I do want to, before we get into stuff, thanks so much to everybody who wished our daughter a happy birthday. In the comments on the last show. She had a great day. She made a new soccer team, new soccer club, and it's one of the best ones. So we're super excited for her that she's continuing her soccer journey with a new club that's going to really challenge and push her. So we're really excited for that. But yeah, man, it's NBA wise. Stuff is happening. Like we got games, we've got some off-season stuff starting to happen. We got a lot of cool things going on. So I am like super excited to get into all this stuff. Rumors are starting to come out for the summertime.
Here we go.
It's starting to get a little juicy. So this is the good stuff.
Okay, well, let's no further ado. Let's get into it. Hungry like the wolf. The Wolves. Ooh. Oh my goodness. What a defensive display. Keith, what we saw last night, I said no Rudy Gobert. I thought even with Rudy Gobert, the Nuggets were going to win that game. That's just the rhythm of a series tends to be that the home team would win. After losing game one, they would come back and they'd win game two. And it was a blowout in the Wolves' favor. I did not see that coming. The Wolves used their defense like an offense. Like they used their defense as a weapon. It's a cudgel to beat opponents over the head with, and that's exactly what they did to the Denver Nuggets. It is the Bobby Boucher defense. Well, no, you go ahead and take the ball. We're going to blitz you, turn the ball over, and we're going to get easy offense because of that. Incredible stuff from the Wolves. And now, I mean, look, I'm not counting the Nuggets out. Who knows? They could turn around and win 2 games in Minnesota, and then we're back in level. That's not outside the realm of possibility, but man, the Nuggets in a tough spot going now into Minnesota down 0-2.
Yeah, completely unexpected. Even if I think the folks who thought the Wolves would win this series, I don't know that they thought they were going to get 2 in Denver right off the jump, right? Like that's just crazy stuff. And a couple thoughts. So I'll build on the defensive point. It felt like at times like Minnesota had 6 or 7 guys on the court. Like they were flying around, completely connected. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is like turning into this, I'm going to mess up your game plan. And that's huge because if they can beat the Nuggets, they're going to get the Thunder or the Mavericks, who both have really good guards too. So they're going to need him to come in and just lock in. There's a play that's going around. It's very funny because it's Wolves fans are like, look at Alexander Walker's defense on this play, then a late double team by McDaniels. They had Jamal Murray in jail, and Nuggets fans are like, he's following him 100 times on this play, and they're not calling it. Like, what is happening? I personally think it was just great defense. It's all over social media. You can find it. But yeah, I also saw, I wish I could remember who it was. I need to do a better job of like tagging these tweets somewhere and like so I can pull them up. But somebody did like a thread of their best defensive plays throughout the game, and it was really, if you like defense, like this was good stuff. But I was with you, no Gobert. I was like, maybe they're, if they lose this one, you just kind of shrug and you say, hey, we did our job, we got one and went. But they locked it. This game was never close. It was like 30-point game at points in the game. So just incredible run by the Timberwolves. Let's go back to Jamal Murray. You can't be throwing stuff on the court. Not one time, not two times. You risk nothing good is going to come of that. If somebody slips on, it could be your own teammate that slips on the heating pack and gets hurt. Then he threw the towel at the referee, and again, no one really cares if a ref slips and gets hurt, but there's nothing to say that ball boy didn't notice it right away. There's nothing to say another person couldn't have got there and slipped on it. So between that, he also made the money symbol at the ref during the game. I'm a little surprised it's almost 5:00 here Eastern as we're recording that we haven't seen a pretty big fine. Maybe it'll come out later tonight. Maybe it'll be tomorrow morning. I assume a fine. I would also not be surprised if Jamal Murray gets a suspension for this, just because it was twice he threw things on the court, and it's very obvious it was him who did it. There's no well, maybe we can't really tell or anything. So it just can't do that.
Well, so when I look at what happened, you've got it's not just one thing, it's the combination of things, throwing two things on the floor, the money sign, all of that. And I think I've seen this point brought up quite a bit, that if this was a fan, they're ejected, they're kicked out. You throw something on the floor, you're kicked out of the building. It's the playoffs, and I wonder how big of a factor that'll be in terms of whether or not Jamal Murray it gets suspended. But he was having a terrible game. He shot horribly. He was like, 3 for 18, I believe.
Yeah.
So terrible. Look, frustrating game, but you can never do that. You can never do, like, if you could, had someone gotten hurt, had someone stepped on that and gotten hurt, he is 100% going to be out for a while. He's going to be suspended for a significant amount of time. He's fortunate that nobody did, but it is this situation. You're down 0-2. You have to go into Minnesota, and I agree with you. It wouldn't shock me if he gets suspended, because he did it multiple. It's not like he did it one time in anger and then he, he came to his senses and he went, oh man, I my bad or whatever. Like, even that's not acceptable, but he did it twice. Like he threw stuff on the floor twice. You can't do that, especially knowing how important he is for that team. You've got to know better than that. If for nothing else, then for the sake of your team, because now he's put himself at risk, which puts his team at risk of going down 0-3. And we know you're probably done. You go down 0-3. That's what history says. You're done.
Yep.
If you go down 0-3. So, Keith, I would not be surprised at all if sometime during the show we hit the breaking news button and Jamal Murray is suspended.
Yeah, absolutely. Last kind of thought from me on this. I don't know where Denver goes to solve this beyond the everyone's favorite adjustment of play better, because I don't know that there's a lineup or rotation change they can go to that's really going to change things. I don't know that there is a scheme change that they can really go to. Maybe they can pick up running their screen and roll actions closer to half court, try to spread the Wolves out, really try to open up the floor, pull the help defenders away earlier, so you're getting downhill, some things there. Maybe you have to run some inverted stuff where even more Jokic is the playmaker coming off the screens. Maybe it's more screening from Gordon or Porter, but you're talking about major changes to the way you play. Now, their benefit is they've got an extra day off here as they're transitioning to Minnesota for the next couple of games. So that's going to help a little bit. But yeah, they've got a lot of stuff to figure out here, because this is going to be that this is it sounds weird to say, because like the Wolves are a good team, but this would be a massive upset. Like, very few people were picking Minnesota to win this, and certainly no one picked them to go in and handle the Nuggets with ease. Like, I don't even know that Wolves fan. You had to be like, you get up and you're wearing the the navy blue and the I don't know, what was that, like that neon green and everything, like every day like that. You're rocking those colors if you're picking Wolves and ease. But man, they're putting it on them right now. And I would say if they just, let's say they win in like 4 or 5 and it's not all that competitive the rest of the way, and Minnesota moves on, a lot of people are going to start saying they're the favorite to win the championship, and it's kind of hard to argue with.
Yeah, to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? Real
Yep.
Ric Flair. Yeah, you beat Denver. Maybe you do become the favorite to win the whole thing. And when you look at, I mean, we talk about defense wins championships, but the Minnesota defense is incredible. I didn't have them going 2-0 in Denver. I had them winning the series in 6. I figured it would go 1-1, 1-1. Win one at home, lose one at win one in Denver, then lose one at home, and then win game 5 and then close it out in game 6. That was the way I had the rhythm of the series going. But this is, I was not expecting them to go after it. And I'll tell you what, Keith, the thing that really impresses me about the way the Wolves go about this is the natural inclination of no Gobert, we're going up against Jokic, would be Naz Reid, you're starting. Instead, they don't have to mess with their big man rotation quite as much because they can go Kyle Anderson. You move like you're underwater, but that's okay. You still get everything done. He had like 9 boards, 8 assists, maybe flip-flop that. He was doing a little bit of everything, and you can still hold your own, keep your versatility out there on the floor. Yes, you lose something without Gobert out there, but then you still get the benefit of Naz Reid in rhythm, coming off the bench, doing what he's used to be doing. I thought that is really impressive that they were able to manage doing that. And that's not the only time we've seen them do that with Kyle Anderson, with him coming in and them being able to keep up with these teams that are as big, if not bigger than them, despite missing a guy like Gobert or in some cases, Karl Anthony Towns. That's been really impressive for them to just keep on rolling despite one of their 2 starting bigs going out.
Yeah, I think the other thing for the Wolves here with that Kyle Anderson point is coaches are very, very reluctant to mess with what works. This is why sometimes you see it's more often if it's like the starting center is out, they'll go to the 3rd string center to start. And then they may up the minutes for the backup, but they don't just throw the backup in there. Naz Reid is playing so well right now for Minnesota and comfortable, obviously, in that backup role. Now he saw his minutes increase and he played more, but you're not going to change his rhythm. Just run with it. We'll start Kyle Anderson and off we go. And they still, it was funny, they still used a lot of the same schematic stuff where it was, all right, Towns, body up on Jokic. Anderson, you're gonna lay back and help position. It's Kyle Anderson, so he's not breaking up those lobs. But they got so physical, so far out on the perimeter that it was like they could never get into it. But here's my bigger question with the Wolves. You mentioned the Nature Boy a minute ago. So would you say they're styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun? Would you say that?
I think. Keith, I think the only response is woo.
There it is.
That's the only way to go. That's the only way to go.
That's one of the few like long form wrestling quotes that I remember from being a kid.
I was gonna say, did you look that up or was that from memory?
That was mostly from memory. I had to look up I couldn't remember. I thought he said kiss stealing, and I was like, is that what it says? So I did double check that one line in there, but yeah, the rest of it I remember. Well, that comes from running around and screaming it at each other when we were kids in the backyard and everything. I think I've told you I liked the bad guys. I always rooted for the bad guys. Like I was was all in on them. I just thought they were more fun.
Oh, I was so crushed when Stone Cold beat Shawn Michaels. I think it was WrestleMania 14. I wanted HBK to win. That was my guy. I wanted him to win, even though he was the heel in the equation.
Man, DX back in the day.
Back in the day.
The Degeneration X days when I was in college. Like that's when I got back into wrestling, and like that was it was just perfect timing. Like it all hit right then. It was like in college you're all about fighting the man and authority and everything, and so
what a time to be alive.
Keith and Trevor talk old school wrestling. So thanks for joining, everybody.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh man!
All right, let's. All right, let's break it down like DX. Let's get over to the Knicks Pacers. Well, actually, before we get to Knicks Pacers, I do want to give a shout out to our guy Bryce Simon. Mock Draft 2.0 up over on the Basketball Bulletin. Some phenomenal stuff in there. Great rationale for every single pick, projecting who each team is going to pick. But guys, go check it out. I'll put the link in the description down below. Great stuff with the Basketball Bulletin, and definitely go give it a look.
We're closing in. We got 5 days left till the draft order will be set. Draft lottery on the 12th, so we're almost there. But yeah, the Basketball Bulletin, we got really good stuff on there. I know you're displaying your piece here. You wrote up some stuff here recently.
I put mine up. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong.
That's all right. You're
wrong
all
window.
good.
I'll put up the.
Pump yourself, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. You don't need to.
I was just you know what it was. I was trying to show off my Wolves in 6 prediction, which is looking better right now than it did at the time. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That was pure narcissism coming into play right there.
Your Wolves in 6. The only thing you might be wrong on that is you might have picked too many games.
Right. I gave the Nuggets too much credit, I guess.
I will say this: Denver has come back from down 3-1 twice with most of this core. So don't let's not write them out yet. Like there's a world where they go in there, and they're certainly not going to be afraid of going into playing Minnesota or anything. They've now climbed those mountains of doing what they need to do. But it's it looks tough right now. It's less about all the other stuff for me. It's just they're just getting straight up beat on the court. Like I just don't know what they go to. But we already spent a lot of time on that one.
All right, let's get to the Knicks and the Pacers, which was a really good game, a back and forth battle, and then it was marred by controversy because, well, the spotlight in the center of the stage, the referees came running in and pushed the teams out and said, "Look at me, look at me, look what I can do." Thanks a lot, refs. Ended up being kind of a mess down the home stretch. The Knicks get the win, and here's what Keith, I'm all in on these Knicks, right?
Yep.
That's not the way I want to see them win a game, with people saying, well, should they have won because of this and that and everything. And I know like true diehard Knicks fans like, well, they won. Whatever. They won. That's the important part. But I don't want anybody to be able to take anything away from this Knicks team and how hard they play. And Josh Hart on the offensive boards, good Lord, he was everywhere. I want to see those guys get credit for that. And it's unfortunate that now the conversation about game one is going to primarily be driven by the officials.
Yeah, it really is. And to your point, you don't want to win that way, but in the playoffs, it takes a lot of luck. You have to be good, obviously, first, but you need luck. Sometimes that luck comes in the form of health. Sometimes it's in the form of a matchup because somebody got upset. Sometimes it is calls go your way with that. I kind of looking at that game as a lead off to what I still think may be a pretty long back and forth series. I look at it as there's things both sides should be really encouraged about, and there's things that both sides I think it's pretty worrisome. My things for the Knicks, or I guess the encouraging things for the Knicks, it was they were able to just kind of roll over the momentum from the first round. They're never out of it. There were times when it looked like the Pacers were going to turn this into a blow and run away. And the Knicks made a couple shots, got a couple stops, and they hung around. And then till they were able to kind of take control very late. From the Pacers side, they were right there on the road, and some tough calls went against them. So do what you do. Now, what's discouraging, I think, for the Pacers is Tyrese Haliburton was terrible. Like he was absolutely awful. I know he's hurting. He's got the back injury going on, but there were times he was literally standing 30 to 35 feet from the basket, standing still while we're running like Andrew Nembhard and Miles Turner two-man game on the other side of the floor. You're the team's max player. You are the franchise guy. You have to go get the ball there, and you have to make it happen. Like it just that can't be, right? Like you can't be there. Then on the Knicks side, I'm starting to get really worried for them. I think, and I tweeted this last night, I think they're going to have enough to get through the Pacers, and I think they will get through the Pacers. But playing 7 guys, these intense, high-intensity, important minutes, it's going to catch up with them. And I'm afraid it could be as soon as the next round if and when they beat Indiana. I don't know. It's going to be rough for them. And I'm going to assume it's Boston on the other side of that. Obviously, I'm making some assumptions, but I very much believe the Celtics will handle the Cavs. They're also going to see a completely different defensive team than what they've seen. if they go up against Boston. So that's going to be the tough stuff there for them. But awesome game. I like you. I wish the officials weren't such a talking point.
Yeah. So 4 of the 5 Knicks starters played more than 40 minutes.
Yep.
Josh Hart played the entire game, 48 minutes, played the entire game. So when people say, "Oh, he had 5 turnovers," well, yeah, in 48 minutes, right? I mean, that's part of it, right? He played the entire game. Your guys off the bench, Deuce McBride, 11 minutes, 12 minutes for Robinson. Like that's not. You're not getting much of a breather there. So I think you're right. I think there is an accumulation of just kind of the burden that's being placed on these guys. But I'll also tell you the thing that concerns me, because you hear me praise the Knicks for their work on the offensive glass all the time. They only won that battle 8-7. The Pacers actually did a really good job controlling their own defensive boards. And then on top of that, the Knicks scored 39 points in the fourth. Yeah. How often is this team going to score 39 points in a quarter?
Yeah,
probably not often. That's probably not going to happen a lot. So I think there's, like you said, there's things for both sides to feel good about. The Knicks ultimately getting the win that they needed to get. The Pacers, I think, showed some things that worked for them. I thought that I was really impressed by Nembhard. I thought he was making big plays in big moments. Miles Turner was hitting some timely threes. He finished 2 for 6 on that one. But Pascal Siakam's a difference maker for them. The Pacers are more of a threat than I would have predicted. I actually thought the Pacers for the bulk of the game were the better team, and the Knicks managed to kind of squeeze out the win at the end. But if the Knicks can't dominate on the boards the way they have previously, and they did in total rebounds, but specifically the offensive glass, if the Pacers can keep them from having any kind of a real advantage there, then I think Indiana could very well take this series.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get the both puppies here. It's
it's dinner time.
That's exactly what's happening, and I'm the only one home right now. So they've like, we have no one. It's Luke, you're our only hope. Or I'm sorry, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. Like, Luke, I don't even think that happens in that.
It's okay. It's not May the 4th anymore. It's
no, that's true. We're past all that Star Wars stuff.
So you're okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this series. I think we've got 4. I still think Denver's going to make a series out of it. So I think we've got, I'm going to say 3 really interesting series, and then I don't know what's going to happen in Boston, Cleveland. I don't know how the Cavs are going to score enough, but we'll see. They have the ability to make it interesting too, especially with Porzingis out. So maybe we end up with 4 really good series.
All right, let's jump over to some off-season news here. Pat Riley didn't pull any punches when he was talking about his team and Jimmy Butler. What was he saying? This was yesterday that he was saying these things. Yep. He addressed the whole Jimmy Butler trade rumor situation and all kinds of goodness here coming from Pat Riley.
Yeah, basically said on the trade front, the intention is not to trade Jimmy Butler, but also then said like, hey, if he wants an extension, we've got to figure out how to get him on the floor more. And then he went into a whole bunch of stuff. He mentioned at least 6 or 7 times in answering different questions, our guys need to be more available. Like we cannot go through another year where key guys miss so much time. He called Tyler Hero fragile at one point and said he needs to play more. Like he said it was tough because at times he knew he was legitimately hurt, but he was more saying like, hey, if you're hurt versus injured, right? The old kind of draw the line, right? I'm going to draw the line right here of injured, you can't play. Hurt, you got to be out there. And he was kind of basically saying like, you guys need to be out there if you're just hurt. Like we can't keep going without you. So he mentioned that they talked with Jimmy Butler's agent about like, hey, he needs to be more available, like with all this stuff. The agent fired back a little bit against that. So Pat Riley did not paint an exact picture of like, everything's great here in Miami. We're all, super thrilled and happy all the time. I think it was a lot of, there could be changes coming, but he stopped short of saying like, yeah, we're going to trade guys and we're going to blow up the roster or anything like that. There was nothing like that, but he was very clear, like, hey, some of these people want new contracts. They want this, that, and the other. Like we've got concerns about handing you
that. He also had a comment about the 65 game rule, saying that essentially builds in that it's okay to miss 17 games over the course of the season. And what's funny is that we've had players like Tyrese Halliburton who have come out and been against the 65 game thing, but not because they think they should play more games, but the opposite, saying they feel like it pushes them to play when they shouldn't play, or when they shouldn't feel like they should have to play. And Pat Riley's coming out the other way, going 65 games. In my day, we played 65 games uphill both ways in the snow. You know, you guys should be. You guys should be
65 games by Christmas,
right?
Like,
Yeah,
that's like what he made it seem like. Yeah,
three nights in a row, back to back to back. No
in
shoes,
different cities, riding on buses.
Yep.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but yeah, so we'll see, right? I think there's a world where Miami makes major changes this summer, just in an attempt to. All right, we've fallen. I know they made the finals last season, but like we can't keep. All right, we're going to make a run from the 8th seed every year, because it's not doable, right? It's just not a thing that's going to happen. You make your path way too hard on yourself if that's what you're going to do. And eventually one of these years, one of these really good teams that kind of takes an approach like that, they're going to get tripped up in the play-in tournament, not even make it. And then it's going to be even worse for them, where it's like, hey, whoa, now we're home. Like, what happened? So that's going to be interesting to see how he specifically with that team, because we know if Donovan Mitchell wants out, or basically it's insert star X here, they're going to be involved. But they're involved with the same trade package that the Trailblazers didn't want for Damian Lillard. That's not to say Tyler Hero might not be a better fit for another team that maybe needs a scoring guard. But there's no super easy fix staring the Heat in the face. Like, in the past, there have been things where it's like, that makes a lot of sense. They can go do this, and this. Those kind of things aren't really out there.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's jump over to another team that doesn't have a lot of fixes that are super apparent, the Suns. We talked about why they might want to move on from their big three and what can happen there, and should they move on from Kevin Durant and all that sort of stuff. Well, they are not a surprise. They're telling everybody, no, we are not doing that. We're going to run it back. We like this group: Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and we'll make some tweaks around the margins and then go from there. So the Suns, they don't, and not a surprise, Matt Ishbia 1 year in isn't going to admit defeat. Oh yeah, I messed up. Sure. Quick, let's undo all this stuff. So that makes sense. But from a cap perspective, Keith, knowing what kind of future draft capital they have committed, if this does not work this next year, this could get very messy for the Suns for the next 5 years, right there. It's a viable path to take, but staying the course is definitely not without risk in this situation for the Suns.
Yeah, there is a world where you run it back, you have a better outcome, and you're a better team, and you feel good about it moving forward. That I think this is more of it does not make sense to tear all this down, because they're not trading Devin Booker. No one's going to trade for Bradley Beal in theory, right? We always make sure to kind of couch that with nobody's untradeable and things happen. But then also with Kevin Durant, there is a sense of, yeah, that's the guy you would have to trade if you're going to really break things up and turn it all around. But no one's going to, like you're going to take a loss on that. Like you're going to take a loss versus what you gave up to get him. So you might as well make your tweaks around the edges, see if you can find role players who fit better. My worry for them is Kevin Durant stayed mostly healthy. Devin Booker missed some time, but not a ton. Bradley Beal missed a lot of time, and that's what Bradley Beal kind of does. I'm a little worried. Are you going to get 75 games or whatever out of Kevin Durant again? I don't think that's going to happen. Like with that hasn't happened for multiple years leading up to this one. So I'm not sure why it would again. Guys, when they get older, don't magically get healthier and more robust and stay on the court longer and play more and all those things. It doesn't happen. So now they could maybe take a far more active role of, hey, who cares about awards? Like, we're going to load manage you, and we're going to, even if that means you only play in 60 games and you're not eligible for awards, so be it. But Kevin Durant's always been the kind of guy where if I'm healthy, like, I want to be out there. Like, I'm not going to sit. So, yeah, it's going to be something for the Suns to really think about. And I think you're going to have other teams looking at this situation specifically and saying, all right, they were the first new CBA super team to be built this way. on going out and getting guys, because the Warriors are already there, the Clippers are already there, the Celtics have depth, the Bucks had some level of depth. The Suns were the first to really say, we're going 3 stars and we'll figure out the rest. That's going to be something everybody else is going to be saying, is this viable? Can you make this work? Or is it 2 stars and we go? We had that conversation already, but that's going to be something that's going to be kind of, they're kind of the guinea pig for the rest of the league with this.
And this is, we had this conversation last summer. I remember us talking about that this is now the test case. As you're saying, this is the test case. The NBA, they institute the new CBA specifically to stop things like this from happening. They don't want this. This is by design. The NBA has said, we don't want 3 stars on one team anymore. We want parity. We want the stars spread out around the NBA, and we're going to make it as annoying, as difficult, as cumbersome as possible to put 3 stars on one team. And again, if the Suns find a way to be successful with this, the league will say, well, maybe we needed to tweak more or whatever. But if it doesn't work, the NBA is going to point to that and go, see, new CBA is working. Now, maybe not publicly. They're going to, point out the downfall of the Suns or whatever. But if this
Adam
does not
Silver
work,
flies to Phoenix and says, you were bad and you got
that's right.
punished.
That's right. And then to bring it all full circle, he does the DX chop, right?
Right in their face. Yeah, or he comes running out like pregame and just whacks Ishbia with a steel chair, like the center court on opening night.
He comes in, he hits him with the steel chair, and then he spray paints NBA across his back.
right across him, or CBA, right across midcourt. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, man, you would think it's a Friday and we're like losing it. It's Tuesday.
We're losing our minds.
I think what's going to be really something to monitor with the Suns too. They are already talking about trading their draft pick, which sounds lunacy to me. Now, this would be one where they have to make the pick. So this would be hat shenanigans. They'd make the pick for somebody else, knowing it's being traded. But, God, you need to start bringing cost-controlled young talent into the fold. But they just seem to be very not focused on the draft. They seem to be, we're going after established talent, and that's going to be how we're going to try to push through. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah,
I mean, James Jones said, you know what, he's not worried about an 8th grader.
Yeah,
he's worried 2031, saying that Kevin Durant's not worried about 2031, and Devin Booker's not worried about 2031, and all that.
True.
And I mean, there's truth to that, but
sure.
Whoever is running the Suns in 2031 might be looking back saying, man, I wish they had thought about this a little bit more.
Well, you're not drafting an 8th grader in this draft. Like that's nothing that's fine if it's trade future picks. Like I get that. But this year, you should be keeping that pick and trying to get somebody who can fill a rotation spot for you and come in and give you 20 minutes a night. Like that's where like they lose me a little bit with those quotes. Like I'm all for, like, my feelings on this. When you are close, go for it. Winning a championship is extremely hard, and you may only get one shot at it with your team within their arc. So you need to go for it when you can. But that doesn't mean now you've gone, like, you need to keep throwing good money after bad or good assets after bad like this. Just let's be a little smarter with this. But they've kind of made their bed, they're going to lie in it. And this is even before all this. They had talked about how they'd kind of deprioritized the draft. It said not really what we want to do, right? We're more concerned about other things. So that's tough too.
We'll see how it all plays out for the Suns. We know that certainly the NBA is going to be keeping a close eye on it. All right, other offseason news. The Clippers want to extend Ivica Zubac. He's been great for them. He's been one of the best guys in the NBA in terms of lowering opponents' field goal percentage when they attempt shots at the rim. He's been tremendous. He is a big force in there. Hurts my heart to see him in those colors because the Lakers gave him away. But
you took it from me. I was going to say, don't you wish the Lakers could get guys like that?
Right. I mean, so annoying. And Keith, part of it too, he was the first guy I interviewed. He was the first player that I interviewed once I started doing this was Ivica Zubac. And that was his rookie year when he first came into the NBA, and he was this shy 18-year-old kid who looked like a deer in headlights when I put a microphone in his face. But he's great. And he's going to get an extension with the Clippers. Sounds like anyway they want to extend him, and good for him. He's been fantastic this season.
I remember you saying like it was nuts that they were even like I remember you did not like the trade at the time. Like I remember that. Like I remember
it was crazy.
Like, what was this for? My first guy I ever interviewed one-on-one, Sonny Weems, with the Phoenix Suns. He had made his way back to the NBA after playing in Lithuania. He was one of my first one-on-one interviews. I'd been in like scrums and stuff, but he was like one of the first people I talked to one-on-one. And we had like a great like 5-minute conversation before a game here in Orlando. So that was fun. Yeah. You end up rooting for those guys, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You always remember your first.
But this makes sense for the clip.
I swear I'm talking about basketball.
This should have been a front office after dark. This one's getting spicy. We are degeneration Xing all over this show.
That's right.
This makes sense for the Clippers. You're in no position where you need to start being super fiscally responsible now. Might as well keep him in the fold. He's still relatively youngish, especially for a center. He'll be fine for the life of whatever the next contract they give him is. He's been a really good pick and roll partner with James Harden. They talked a lot about how those two spent hours like working on, here's where I need you to be. Zubac, like, I don't like the ball here, throw it here. And that's something that I think gets underrated with James Harden. He is a very good playmaker from the sense of some bigs are, don't throw me bounce passes because I can't catch them down there. Other bigs are, hey, you got to hit me right in the chest. I remember there was a whole thing. It was with Bill Cartwright. Michael Jordan was getting frustrated that Bill Cartwright was fumbling passes, and they said throw it directly at his face because then he'll get his hands up and he'll catch it.
He has
and that
to
was
catch
like
it.
The story that came out. Yeah, that was one of the things that came out about him with that. And once Jordan did that, and then like obviously went on to have a lot of success together there. But yeah, that was so yeah, their pick and roll partnership has come together really well, and I think that's he's an important player for the Clippers to try to keep.
All right. Speaking of players the Clippers trying to keep, the Clippers have made below max extension offers to Paul George, but not full max extension offers. So kind of begs the question.
Offers too.
What's that?
Multiple below max offers too.
I mean, that kind of begs the question: is that what Paul George wants? Is the max? And if the Clippers aren't willing to go there again, I still think this gets resolved. It's so like we've got time for them to figure this out and meet in the middle or whatever. But it looks like there is a little bit of a disagreement over exactly what this next contract should look like. Paul George, 34 years old now, and if he wants a max, I think there's teams out there that will probably give that to him. Whether it's Philly, whether it's Orlando, whoever. But if he wants to stay with the Clippers, they may be trying to work to get him to do something closer to what Kawhi Leonard did.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. We want to put you, Kawhi, and James Harden all on the same path as far as years go. We're going to pay you all, but we're not giving anybody the max. We want everybody to kind of be just below max. And that'll free up, hopefully, and maybe enough flexibility in years 2 and 3 of those deals where it is we can now get into we're under the second apron as we need to. As you get older, we need more help. We can go get it easier. Maybe those kind of things. That's where they're looking to go. So that's going to be really interesting. I had a few people ask if we could clarify because they're getting confused on I thought you couldn't talk to free agents, but what is the new rule on talking to free agent stuff? So we'll clarify it, but this one is different. This is an extension. So this can happen today all the way through to midnight on June 3rd. Really, it's 11:59 p.m. on June 30th. Guys can sign extensions. And we've seen that. And since we've moved free agency, I think we're in like year 3 or 4 of free agency starting at 6 p.m. We do get confused occasionally. Is this a new deal? Is this an extension? What happened here? For most people, it doesn't really matter. It's just players staying where they're staying. So who cares? But there are reasons when it matters, and we ultimately end up finding out. But the rules on talking to your own free agents now are still technically can't do it if they're going to be a free agent, but the day after the NBA Finals, that's when that window opens up. You can start talking. I think it's the day after, but it's right around then, right after the NBA Finals. You can start negotiating with your own free agents, and then that it gets. So I think you'll see that's how we're going to get around some of the 6 p.m. We didn't tamper because it was our own guy. We're going to get player X's re-signing or whatever the case is, with the team because they've already kind of hashed it out. Now, if you're new to the show, Trevor and I aren't naive morons. We know teams are already talking to players on other teams. I'm a moron about a whole lot of other stuff, but not this. But with this stuff, they're already talking to, we know how it works, and we are not the tampering police that get all up in arms over tampering. Both of us are of the same opinion of just let people, when their season's over, let them start talking to other teams. What are we doing? We're just causing a mess that somebody has to police that we don't need to be policing.
Yeah, it's the whole tampering thing. And we'll talk about it more when we get into that season, but it's ridiculous and it goes too far sometimes, and it's frustrating to see it all play out the way that it does, because we all know it's happening. We all know it's happening, but we have to just pretend like it doesn't or whatever. And it's at a point where if you're a team that doesn't, you're at a disadvantage. Yeah, that's just a fact. That's the way it is.
That's why everybody does it too.
Yeah,
and that's why honestly the teams don't raise too big of a stink over it. Where they get bent out of shape is stuff that from a few years ago, the Bogdan Bogdanovic thing, which was, well, wait a minute, this is a restricted free agent in a sign and trade, and you're announcing it a week ahead. What are we doing? That's not even that's not okay. And where teams do get upset is well, wait a minute, dude just signed his extension here. It's only just now kicking in, and you're already trying to talk to him about trading for him that. Those are different stories. It's the true free agents that they're a free agent now. It's just we haven't ticked over for the clock to really start on it. Those are the ones where it's just if everybody did it and was a lot more open about it and it was legal, we'd all be okay, whatever. We're not going to stress about it.
Exactly. All right. Some things are legal to happen now. For example, Christian Wood will reportedly pick up his player option, according to Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype. Now, I guess my question is, why? Why? And not so much why. I understand why he had a very injury-riddled season, didn't put up great numbers, shot his worst percentage ever for three because, of course. And so it's not so much why did he pick up the option? Why now? He's got until, I believe, June 29th to decide. Why give up that power right now?
Yeah, because now what this does is, let's just say the Lakers wanted to make a draft day trade. He can be in it because now he's under contract. Mm-hmm. He has picked up his option. If that remains a open-ended question until his option day, which I think you are right, I think it was the 29th, that becomes you can't trade him because he could be a free agent. And clearly you can't trade a guy who could be a free agent because then he just opted out with the new team. So that opens up the world. My guess is Christian Wood and his agency have a pretty good understanding of he's a minimum guy. Part of what his challenge is, he wasn't healthy for a large chunk of last year. Yeah. Played in 50 games. I think he had a little overblown. I saw people he's barely in the league. Still averaged 7 points and 5 rebounds in 18 minutes a game. He had some good stretches. Yeah, he had some good stretches. He was fine, right? I think the challenge was what the Lakers needed in that role was just somebody who was more of a defensive presence. They had enough scoring to get by in those moments, and he's just not that. And it was just but at the end of the day too, this was a minimum signing. So it was almost a no risk kind of deal for the Lakers where it was, if this works out, great. If it doesn't, oh, well, it didn't work out. The player option, they get, my feeling on that. Rob Pelinka gets a little too free with giving everybody a player option on here too. But all right, if it's the difference between getting a guy and not getting a guy, fine. It's not the end of the world. So my guess is what they've looked at is All right, this locks in $3 million for him for next year. The league minimum for a 2-year veteran next year is like $2 million. For him, it'd be slightly higher because he's got like 5-6 years of service. So he'd end up probably making closer to like 2.5 million. So he didn't even make all that more money. But what this does is this now he knows, like, I'm here unless they trade me. But at least I'm not sitting around waiting. And we got to remember too, it was like pretty late in free agency before he got signed. And I'm sure teams aren't going to be like, oh, hey, Christian Wood coming off a knee injury. Let's jump on this even earlier. So it's just a little bit more security for him. It is just the timing is a little weird on why do it now.
It is. And that's where we're kind of left wondering, okay, why would he pick this up now? But for the Lakers, the good thing is it gives you a little bit of certainty and it doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, of course, the uncertainty around LeBron, around D'Angelo Russell, those are much bigger issues, no question. This doesn't mean like, oh, whew, okay, now we know everything's fine. But any kind of certainty that you can get is helpful. So now you know, and should a trade come up draft night where, oh my gosh, we're $3 million short in matching money or whatever. Okay, well now you've got that you can put into a deal. So I think it's a positive because it's a minimum contract. Is it realistic that Christian Wood have a great season? No, but how realistic is it that you're going to find somebody else on a minimum contract that's as good as he is? Not very. Again, I think you just look at it and say, yeah, he had a terrible season. He's historically produced at a higher rate. Hopefully he does that this next year and he bounces back and you go from there. And it's essentially a minimum. It's a slight raise off a minimum contract. Whatever, you take it. And if I'm the Lakers again, I'd gladly give him that number, even if just to have the certainty now of not having to wonder why have this all kind of up in the air all the way until June 29th.
And for anybody, because I got this question, as I'm sure you did, does this hurt the Lakers cap space? If the Lakers have cap space this summer, a whole lot of stuff went wrong. Like, that means LeBron left for nothing. D'Lo left for nothing. Like, it's like there's no other realistic paths to cap space for the Lakers. Meaningful amount of cap space. Nowhere where $3 million is like, well, that ruined everything we could have done. That's just not going to be a thing.
And I think most people, when they're looking at it, are thinking, is this now preventing them from using, say, a tax pyramid level or something like that? Which it's not, because that money's going to be taken up no matter what. Like, it's going to be at least it's going to be a couple $1 million. So this isn't going to be a huge difference maker there.
Yeah, this is not enough where this is going to make a difference. And if it is, they can just, for $3 million, you attach a second round pick and dump it on a team and you're fine. Like, that's if you had to, but they're not even going to get to that point. Last thing I'll touch on, just because this was a popular question that's coming up a lot. I'm sure you're getting tired of it already. LeBron is not going to take $10 million or $15 million or $20 million.
I've had people say you should take $2 million.
Yeah. Well, that's
play for the minimum.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that aren't going to happen, and all of those scenarios are things that aren't going to happen. Like, I keep seeing it, I keep reading it, and people keep asking. I've even seen some people who generally are like pretty smart about this stuff that have said, well, he is older. If he really wants to win, like, it's just not going to be a thing. It's just not going to happen.
And here's what people misunderstand, and they think that, and look, I get it. Not everybody is as laser focused on this stuff as we are, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I get people to come in and say, well, LeBron needs to, restructure his contract. That's when you get NFL people coming in, when they use that terminology. But but LeBron should play for a couple $1 million. That way they can go get Trae Young. That way they can go get whoever, insert whatever name you want there. That way they can go get this guy. And there's a misunderstanding because they are so far over the cap already that it doesn't, even if LeBron played for $2 million, it's not like suddenly they've got a bunch of cap room to go add whatever superstar they want. Not that there's a superstar that's out there on the market anyway in free agency, but it's not like it suddenly gives them a bunch of flexibility. Now, would it open up the full mid-level exception? Sure. But if you're LeBron and you're saying, hey, I can give you guys access to the full mid-level, what'd you guys do with that last year? Oh, you gave it to Gabe Vincent and he didn't play. I think I'm going to take my $50 million rather than play for $2 million. That would be the most you're realistically going to open up, whether it's you actually open up that full mid-level, or even if you could drop a little bit below the cap, you're probably not dropping far enough below the cap to open up more than the $12-ish million or so anyway.
Yep.
So that's the issue. LeBron taking
Yep.
less does not mean you can suddenly go get a superstar X to come join the team.
Yeah, and it sounds fun to say LeBron took the minimum and the Lakers can go load up and sign 7 guys. It I get it. That's fun to dream about and think about, and that's great. It's just not going to be a thing. So just wanted to clear those up while we're on a Lakers centric topic.
Just to be the wet blanket there and bring and bring down everybody's hopes. But it's a question that gets brought up, and a lot of people get frustrated with LeBron not really understanding the situation. They said, "Oh, LeBron's putting money ahead of winning." Not really. That's not really what the situation is. Now, if you said,
and if he was okay,
I mean, if it was different, right? If it was LeBron could take $5 million and he's already a billionaire, and that would mean the Lakers get Giannis, right? If that was the situation, right? Then people would have a conversation, but that is not the situation. It's not even close.
Yep. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Cause I think there are worlds where he would do that, but that's not going to be how it plays out. And, so yeah, but yeah. All right. What do we got? We got one more.
Last thing.
Amazon. Yeah.
We got this one. Amazon will have the NBA Cup and the play-in tournament. That is part of their agreement now to stream NBA games. We kind of knew this was coming to some degree. We knew that they were going to have certain games that they were going to be targeting. So they want what used to be known as the in-season tournament. They want the NBA Cup, and they want the play-in tournament to be exclusively on Amazon. So you're going to have to stream Amazon Prime, I would assume, just like with Thursday night NFL games, in order to watch those games. And I guess the only question is, what kind of technology will we see on the NBA Cup courts next year? Are we going to see, are they going to be the blinding colors? Because before, I thought the idea was if you're flipping through the channels and you see those super loud courts, something is different and you'll stop and watch. That's not the case if you're having to go specifically to Amazon Prime to go stream and everything, right? So I wonder if they're still going to have those courts, or do they incorporate what we saw at the All-Star game where they had the video court and all that kind of stuff? That'll be interesting to see if they make any adjustments there. But regardless, that's where you're going to have to go to watch the games, no matter what the courts look like.
Yeah, and there are ways I think the court technology could be introduced that could be fun and enhance the viewing product if we're just doing crazy stuff to do it. I don't know. I don't need all that, but I'm also old and not fun, so whatever.
Wear your home jerseys at home, your road jerseys on the road, knock off all this other stuff.
Yeah, that is absolutely where I'm at with that stuff.
Me too.
If you want to have a third one for special occasions, I think some of the best jerseys in the league, and I'm not saying this because you're my buddy, I like the Lakers Sunday whites. I think they're super clean. I like them way better than the yellow jerseys. But it's gold jerseys. But I think those are super clean. So I have no problem if you have special stuff. I also, I hated the Celtics alternate black jerseys for a long time. Now I love them. The black and green, I think they pop. I think they look super sharp. I'm a big fan. So anyway, we can save more discussion on that for August.
Sure.
So Amazon clearly was getting into this with specifics, right? It was going to be, we want specific stuff, either specific nights, specific events, all those things. The NBA Cup last year was split between Turner, TNT, and local games as well, right? Because they weren't all on national TV. I kind of wonder, are they going to have all the games that night? And if you want to watch all of it, or is it still going to be, they have one game that is the nationally televised game, and then that moves into the rest are still available on League Pass? How is that going to work? Because, or is it going to be, there's 5 NBA, or probably more like 10 NBA Cup games tonight. They're all on Amazon. Is that going to be how it works? I don't know, right? We don't know those details yet. We'll see if they're all on Amazon. I just want a way to bounce between them very easily, like we have on League Pass. The play-in tournament, okay, that was, again, split between ESPN, TNT. I had the play-in tournament the first couple years of its existence here. All right, that's going to go there. Those are one game in a per time slot. That one I don't mind too much there. The other stuff that has come out is they are looking like they'll have a conference finals every other year, and it sounds like ESPN is going to have one every year, and then Amazon and whoever the third partner is, whether it be NBC or TNT, they will split the other years with them. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like there's a world where NBC gets a package, maybe Sunday nights, and TNT gets a package that would probably be their traditional Thursdays, but maybe Thursdays after football season or something like that. We don't know, but we'll see what that looks like. So all this is coming together. All I know is the NBA is making a crap ton of money off this. It may not be the 3 times multiplier that they said, but it is certainly not the doom and gloom that some others were predicting of that no one's going to pay for these rights. Clearly they're paying for all this stuff.
Yep. Yes, indeed. And we'll see how the rest of it kind of breaks down. We know that, like you said, those other organizations, those other companies are going to be looking to try to, get their piece of the pie too, but Amazon's where you're going to watch these ones. So, new frontier in that way, a streaming platform now carrying NBA beyond just League Pass streaming, carrying NBA games. So,
and I'll say I'm not as big a football fan as I was, but I've checked out Amazon's football. It's good, clean. It's pretty sharp. I think it looks good. I think it's packaged well. I think everything was really done well with it. So they'll do a great job with the NBA. Also, I have no doubt about that. For me, it's just the ease of getting to it. I don't want to have to launch one app and then launch other things and all that. But there's second screens. There's all kinds of stuff. I'll figure out ways. So I'll have the neighbor kids teach me how to do it, and they'll come over and teach old man Keith how to work the buttons on the remotes and iPads and everything else.
You know how on Amazon Prime with the Thursday night football games, they have their own crew, like their own halftime crew and analyst crew and all that. I volunteered the NBA front office show as we could be the halftime. Besides, they've got for football, they've got 10 people at that desk. We could certainly be in the mix there and break down things halftime. I will volunteer us as tribute.
I'm in.
There on
and then if it's a bad game, they know we can fill. We'll just start talking about Marvel and all kinds of
exactly
1990s wrestling. Let's go.
Yeah, no problem. We'll bring in the ratings. Bring in the ratings. Yeah. All right.
On that note, everybody hit subscribe.
By the way, hit that subscribe button, everybody. Don't forget to turn on notifications as well. Give us that 5-star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. Appreciate all of you for joining. And we'll be back tomorrow with plenty more NBA basketball to discuss. Till then, everybody, see ya and stay safe.